What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Digimon. I'm currently here with Devin Snipes, the man who played Ulforce consistently, topping with it. He's going to be sharing with us his deck profile. It's super freaking good, guys. Definitely recommended. Go ahead and jump into the profile, Devin.
All right, so I've had people that are probably playing this deck, but we're gonna walk you through it. Okay, so I played first the rookies, 4 of the structure deck Vmon. The warp almost never happens, but primarily that draw 1, especially when you're on the specific level 5 later on, it can steal games. Sometimes when you're behind, you have to get that extra draw. Very important. Then we have 4 of the BT11 Vmon, the best fucking card in the deck. It is just so good. It is so good. You have to play this. Then 4 of the EX1 Vmon. It's heritable when you spend gain of memory. It's really important to try to maintain turn as much as possible when playing this deck, or to basically you're gonna out advantage your opponent. You're gonna tempo your way into controlling the game as frequently as possible. So it's really good to have cards that give you memory for doing pretty much what you're gonna be doing anyway. Now on to the champions. We have 4 of the BT11 Veedramon. The your turn effect comes in handy occasionally when you play a tamer draw 1. Sometimes you just brick, you gotta play a tie for 2, you draw a card off of that. You might actually hit that level 5 or that Ulforce you've been looking for. So this card comes in handy pretty frequently. But mainly is inheritable when you play a tamer gain of memory, is the best card in the deck. Well, best part of the card, at least. 3 of the Veedramon from the structure deck. Primary reason for running this, it helps you get around Bloom Mode, helps you get around memory chokers, it helps you get around just annoying little bodies that you don't want to have to bounce with Ulforce's effect in order to play the game. So this allows you to at least avoid those cards to force your opponent to play around you as opposed to you to play around them. Then 3 of the new hybrid from BT12 Lanamon. Really good. As effective when Digivolving, place a blue level 3 Digimon under another Digimon on your field. When you do, you get that Digimon jamming for the turn. So, really good for helping Ulforce get around the biggest problem, which is swinging over bigger bodies and security. So you don't have to worry about that anymore. Helps give Ulforce even better inheritables. Even if you develop over a tamer, you get a functioning inheritable over Lanamon, so she doesn't feel like as much of a waste compared to Kumamon. So pretty effective, really good card, definitely worth playing. Now to level 5, so we've got 4 of the BT11 Aero Veedramon. This is easily like the way the deck should be played is inheritance is very important. Main effect, by suspending the Digimon, you can look at top 3 and add all blue tamers that are revealed. That just helps. This is part of the reason why Death Xing Ulforce is almost pointless, because if you give me into this card, I can just search and Digivolve again. It doesn't hurt me to be on an Aero Veedramon. That is inheritable. When attacking, activate one of your Arena Shinomiya's effects. So you can pretty much, even if you don't have an extra Arena, you can continue to spam Arena's on play effect every turn and make Ulforce very annoying to get rid of, which is primarily the reason why the deck is good, because Ulforce is really hard to get rid of against most matches, except for maybe like green occasionally and blue in the mirror match. Those are probably the only 2 colors that are going to give you trouble. Then you run 3 of the structure deck Aero Veedramon. This Veedramon in tandem with this Vmon, even though it seems very obvious, can potentially keep Ulforce with Security Tech +1 while spamming the arenas. So you end up staying at a consistent 8 cards in hand, and that means you can potentially OTK your opponent with even less effort than usual. Now you only need 3 tamers to win the game as opposed to having to hit 4 or 5 tamers to win the game. So very good card. It comes in handy a lot. It's still better to go into the BT11 one, but the starter deck one it's clutch. It's really clutch. Then obviously 4 of the star himself, Ulforceveedramon. This card just does it all. When you Digivolve, play a blue tamer. During your turn, if you play a blue tamer, he unsuspends, and then when he unsuspends, he can bounce 1 level 3 Digimon, and that level is increased for every tamer you have in play. So one of the only cards that can reliably bounce level 7s is one of the only cards in the game that has pretty consistent and reliable removal. It's just fantastic. When you combine it with the Arena that came out in the same set, you've got a powerhouse boss card that can basically win most matchups. And then you run 2 of the Ulforceveedramon X Antibody. He allows, with the new arena, he allows for you to potentially bounce on the opponent's turn, and that makes certain matchups very winnable. Then for Tamers, which I mean is the most important part of the deck, you run 4 of the BT12 arenas. Her effect is on play. You can give 1 Vmon or Veedramon evade and blocker. The Vmon part comes up occasionally, not all the time, but sometimes it's pretty effective. Then all turns, when you Digimon with Veedramon in its name with suspend, you can activate one of his Digivolving effects. That's where this guy can come in handy. Because now, when you block, you're suspending yourself. Therefore, you can unsuspend from his own Digivolving effect and then bounce the lowest level Digimon on the opponent's board. And sometimes that is literally their boss card. So you can control tempo with this. And then the best part of her effect, when one of your blue Digimon will unsuspend, gain 1 memory. So she even allows for Ulforce to maintain memory on your turn, and if the Ulforce survives a turn, you get an abundance of memory. You can start turn, you can basically from 1 attack gain 4 memory and just make your opponent suffer for not being able to get rid of your Ulforce in time. Then you play 4 of the promo V-Tamer Tai. The primary focus of the card, he's a 2-cost tamer and he can draw you a card. So oftentimes he just allows you to dig for your pieces, and he's super cheap to play, so it's very reliable to drop him even if your hand's pretty bad. Run 2 of the Memory Setter Davis. Comes in handy. I don't like running 3 because searching is really good, but you don't want to search and hit pass by 2 arenas and suffer for the rest of the game because you didn't get 1 card. So 2 is fine. You gain enough memory on your own, and you'll see him pretty frequently with all the searches in the deck, so you'll be A-okay. Then I run 1 Matt and Sora because this card comes up a lot. It's your turn effect is when your blue and red Digimon unsuspends, you may suspend this tamer to bounce 1 level 3 Digimon to their hand. So just like the starter deck Veedramon, it allows for you to avoid dealing with little bodies on boards you don't want to deal with. You can potentially bounce like a Hydramon and 2 lower level Digimon and wipe a Blue Lord's board for just unsuspending once. It's really convenient, it's really reliable. The memory effect, start of your main phase, if you have 8 or more cards in your hand, gain a memory. If your opponent has 8 or more cards in their hand, you also gain a memory. So he basically can turn him and a Davis on board, is giving you 5 memory if you both have 8 cards. And if you unsuspend with Ulforce after that, you're basically going to be at like 5, 6, 7, 8 memory for doing almost nothing. Very, very good. Then, for options, I run 2 Kakaida's Breath because Quartzmon is annoying, and there are other times where just having 1 copy of Kakaida's Breath in your hand can slow your opponent down long enough for Ulforce to absolutely dominate the game. Ulforce is not really good at OTKing as well as people think it is. I don't think it's the strength of the deck. I think the strength of the deck is the ability to control the pace of the game. You're basically playing a control deck with offensive options. That's really where your strength is. So if you can bring your opponent down even something enough for 1 turn, that's 1 more turn and Ulforce can take absolute advantage in their hand. It's really effective. It's really good to have this card. 2 for memory boost because even though Davis sometimes sucks, you're sometimes just missing that piece, and just having another way to get to that piece can absolutely make your life a million times easier. And then, well, the eggs are pretty self-explanatory. You play 4 Wanyamon because it's the only egg worth playing in this deck. So, primary combos you should remember. Ulforce Sex Anybody and Rena allows for you to bounce your opponent's turn. This is one of the best combos in the deck. This is what I think will bring the deck to being top tier, or at least one of the best decks in this format. People were really sleeping on this deck. When I played it in tournament this last week at locals, I was able to beat Beelzemon without too much of an issue. I was able to beat Hunters without too much of an issue. It's surprisingly a really good deck. I think your worst matches are probably going to be War Greymon and Bloomlord. Bloomlord's still a rough matchup. It's probably the worst matchup we have to deal with. But as long as there's other decks checking Bloomlord, I feel like you've got a fantastic chance at topping with this deck. If you're worried about it, I recommend you play it slow and steady. Don't rush too hard. Think about your options, and 9 times out of 10, you'll end up winning the games. And that's basically the gist of it. I recommend leaving any comments in the description. Comments in the comment section if you have any questions about the deck. And Tristan will probably ask me to respond to those comments.